We did
Hey.
it. Hello.
Success. Hey Mario, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? It has been a
Yeah, very good.
long time.
I
I
was
I
trying to
for,
think
I forget that you.
when the last time we seen each other like properly,
It
because I
was,
haven't
I
been
think,
to any of the
doodling,
comps.
doodling.
Yeah, doodle.
Because
Just
then
asking my mum
afterwards,
because
you
yeah,
were leaving afterwards.
yeah, I left right after doodle last year.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes.
right.
That was the last time.
So nearly a year.
Oh my God. You're telling me. I know. I can't believe that we're in June of 2020. It feels like a blur. Like the whole 2020 is like this massive blur.
'Cause
But
what's
yeah, it's been.
happened? Like what's going on? It's yeah,
I
it's like skipped
life
ahead,
has.
fast forwarded.
Yes. I mean, life always moves very quickly, but this year, I think is definitely a blur.
Yeah. So how's Melbourne been? Like, how have you been during this whole COVID period?
I've been good. I'm really grateful that it's been it's been going well. I mean, I have a wonderful partner that is like it's much easier having someone and helping each other out. And his family's
Mm,
really great, and so it's been a little bit difficult. We had to move out, and we're living in with his parents.
mm,
But it's to me, it's fine. Like I really enjoy my time here. And
mm.
some good things came out of it. I ended up getting a car, so I'm back at driving, which is good. I was used to driving. I mean, in Canada, I drove for oh my God, since from 16 all the way till I left, so 24. So I drove for my
Uh-huh.
whole life. And then when I moved to Melbourne, the change was then taking public transport. And then I got used to that. And then I was like, well, back to having a car. So it's good. Things have been good. Can't complain.
Mm. And because I think the restrictions are still sort of in place in Melbourne, right? I think you guys are still like you guys have
Yeah, Victoria's
like
the strictest
limitations,
one.
and
So
I think you
we
have to
get
do outside salsa classes and things like this.
yeah, so it's actually been really cool. I mean, we kept up as almost every instructor did with the Zoom session. So it's been actually fun having still seeing people and having that kind of responsibility
Mm.
towards having a class, being prepared, you know. So it's been fun that. And then I started doing outdoor salsa classes, and it's just amazing. As long as it doesn't rain, even if it's a little bit windy, it's just really fun to be outside, get fresh air,
Mm.
jam out.
And
So it's been really
do
good.
you find people are quite receptive to coming outside and dancing like in a park or something?
Oh yeah, I think what I found from my sessions is that this whole COVID situation has made you have you're now grateful for the simple things in life. So being
Mm.
outside, seeing people, even if you can't be close to them and you can't really like touch them or hug them or whatever, just even seeing someone, hearing someone's voice, laughing about it, like just
Mm.
being in that presence of other people.
Mm.
Especially I think for salsa dancers, we're so used to that human interaction with everything, right? With social dancing, with taking classes, with
Absolutely.
rotating partners,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like everything about that is that now when weren't able to do it, I remember the first class, it was really, really good. It was really fun. People
Mm.
loved it. It was yeah, and I guess it's also building that baby steps and making people confident about being like to be back in groups with people.
Hmm.
So I think being outside is has been one of like a good transition that I found to
Yeah.
kind of get people getting getting comfortable being around each other.
Mm. So,
Yeah.
for those of you who have just joined us, we're here with Mario Acosta from Canada, now from Australia, 10 times world salsa champion. So, massive thank you to Mario for his time because obviously everyone's doing their own thing and they're living their lives. And Mario very graciously agreed to have a chat to everyone tonight. So, it's a great pleasure for me because I'm a big fan of Mario and he's a good friend of mine. So, I'm really happy to be talking to him this evening. These interviews, guys, are interactive interviews. So if you have a question for Mario, you're welcome to put your question in the comments section, and as long as it's appropriate, and we'll work our way through them during the course of our conversation. So please feel welcome to interact if you would like to. So I have a question for
What is
Mario.
appropriate? What does appropriate mean?
I suppose you can be the judge of that, and as I know from our interactions, the line is maybe a bit further away than some other people might
The line can
call
be very
appropriate.
blurry.
So,
But you know what? I'm not drinking right now. I was actually gonna have a drink and be like, oh, let's have a drink while we're doing this, but I was running late, so now I'm like, the line might be a little more straighter this time, but that's okay. I'm open to
maybe,
any question.
well, there you go. You heard from Mario. So any question you would like to ask is on the table, but we might try and keep it dance related or as dance related as possible.
Yes, yes, of course,
Uh,
of course, people keep it
mm.
dance related.
I wanted to ask you how you found the transition because like you're a really busy guy. You're teaching at schools, you've got proams, you've got teams, you're a competitor yourself, and then all of that work has sort of changed and then I'm assuming a lot of it's gone online because I know you're teaching online classes still. Like how has that transition been for you?
Um, I guess for me, the transition has been, look, it hasn't been easy, but I guess at
Mm,
the end of the day, I always value or always try to strive towards um, being adaptable. Do you know what I mean? Like life will throw you so many curveballs, and you have to just try to find. Um, you gotta make the best situation out of everything, right? And
mm,
understand, like you, it it it's easy for people, and I understand it's very easy to focus on the negative of what you've lost.
mm,
But I guess being in this country, and also like getting my permanent residency and everything, I've realized how grateful and lucky I am. So even though
mm,
I've lost a lot of things that I could focus on, it forces you to kind of um, be creative and be like, okay, how can I, like, I'm obviously I enjoy creating things and I enjoy, venturing off and dreaming big. Like everything that I've done, I guess I've always dreamed about, right? I've always
mm,
dreamed about leaving Edmonton, leaving Canada. I've always dreamed about going to a bigger city. I've always dreamed about doing those things. So in reality, I am doing that and I'm living my dream. So sometimes
mm,
I guess in this situation, it's like you now have to make new dreams. You have to like just in this chaos sit and let your mind drift and let your mind like imagine things that you've never thought you could do
mm.
because now is the time that you have to do it. Because everything you thought about is kind of like, it's put upside down. So
Yeah.
it's it's hard to do that. And don't get me wrong, there I've had moments where I'm like stressed out, losing my like just can we swear in this one? Okay, I'll swear
Yeah,
PG
yeah.
PG. I've stressed, like I'm human. I've been stressed out, like all those things. But I guess now it's for myself, like so I have Mumble Madness with Laura Anderson from here in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of forced us to be in it to try to be innovative and
Yeah. So despite this period of isolation and quarantine, you still have goals and aspirations and things that you're working towards. You're not being idle with your time, or you're trying not to be.
yeah, no, definitely not. And I'm again super grateful that little things like I'm working in um I'm welding plastics during the day. So I'm working in a my partner's family's factory. So even just little things of like going to work in a factory where social distance is everything, but I still
Mm.
get to have responsibility of waking up doing something.
Yep.
I mean, is it my favorite job? Of course it's not. I love dancing. I love teaching. That's what I love
Mm.
doing. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to take everything. You have to be grateful for the little things you'll get. So, it's not my favorite
Mm.
job. I actually enjoy going because now I get to wake up, get my day started, be responsible, make some money to help out.
Hmm.
And now I get to listen to podcasts all day and listen to music and be like, ooh, when I get back on stage, I'm gonna create this number and this is what we're gonna do and this is what we're gonna do. So it's things like that that you have to try to find to again just make the best out of any scenario.
Mm. There's one thing about you that I really admire, and that's your ability to maintain a really healthy physical presence. So I know that you're training really hard, like in the gym, and you're one of the most, you're like, for me, you're probably one of the strongest and most flexible dancers that I've ever seen. I don't see many dancers that can do like the physical feats and the most flexible feats that you do. So are you maintaining like your strength and flexibility while you're not in like competition mode?
Um, yes, I'm again really grateful that through these Zoom classes, I notorious we do like these boot camps. So pretty much we do these 30-minute workouts and we do them 3 times a week. And on one of the
Three
days
times a
I do
week.
like, yeah, 3 times a week. So the
Yeah.
good thing is that I'm doing the bare min I like the little things, right? And so
Mm.
even though and I have the ability, like there's weights at the house, but I've lost motivation to be honest. I'm human. I'm literally like, if I don't have to teach it right now, I'm like, I'm just tired, kind of tired, not motivated to do it. And there's days I do work out outside of the teaching,
Yep.
but it has been difficult. And I guess I think I've learned to accept that about myself.
Hmm.
So in reality, back before COVID, if I didn't go to the gym and it's been like 2 days, I'm like anxious and I'm a little
Yeah.
bit like I'm a little more irritable. Like I don't have as much patience. Like going to the gym for me is a good de-stressor, is a good feeling. Like I feel good afterwards. It's just mentally calming as much as physically for myself. But in some
Hmm.
weird way, it's the first time in my life that I'm so okay with not working out. Like I've learned to
Yep.
accept it and that my body's gonna change and that's fine. Like again, the fact that I get to do it with my students 3 times a week, I'm like, I could be doing absolutely nothing, but
Yep.
I'm doing at least some cardio workouts. And I'm also I am an instructor for Rise Nation, which is this like climbing, this cardio climbing gym.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen some of the
And so I
videos.
started, yeah, yeah. So we started, Liam and I, my partner and I, we literally became an instructor, I think 2 weeks before COVID happened. So it was like we
Wow.
trained before that, we did these things, and then we taught like 2 weeks of classes, and then COVID happened.
Right. Okay.
And oh, we're getting questions. We're getting questions. And but yeah, and so now since gyms get to go back on the 22nd of June,
Yep.
we're again training again. So it's been actually really exciting now.
Cool.
You see light at the end of the tunnel. But I
Cool.
have been great, and I've enjoyed
Let's
eating
jump
and
into that
cooking.
question. That was a question from Lolly. What was the first dance style that you learned?
Girl, I know you asking that question because you know the answer, but I will then tell everyone else. She knows. I saw her the other day, and but it's a good question. Flamenco is actually my first dance
Okay,
style.
because she's teaching it in Melbourne, right?
She's teaching in Melbourne, but
Yeah.
yeah, she's teaching it, and I mean she's Spanish, right? So it's in her
Yeah.
culture. But yeah, flamenco was my
How old were you when you
first
started
ever
flamenco?
one. I was four when I
Four.
started. Yeah, the instructor. Um, Look, not to toot my own horn, but my mom always said I was a really good kid until I learned how to talk back. So what that meant is I listened, I did what I was told. I didn't talk back when I was young, and I guess I had a good attention span at 4. And so my mom, there is these in Edmonton. There's like these this long weekend in August called Heritage Days, and pretty much you have I think there's like 85 pavilions of different countries, and it's in this massive park where it's like in a circular park, and you have literally 85, and they will it's
Yep.
that weekend is about celebrating their heritage. So you have food, and they'll have dances, and they'll have music of their according countries. So there was
Yep.
a Spain pavilion, and so there was this group, and my mom loved it. And my mom literally was like, "Oh, it'd be so nice for my kid to learn flamenco. Like it'd be cute. He'll have his hat, he'll have the castanets, like all those things." So my mom took me to the school, and the instructor was really hesitant because he was like, "I don't teach kids like bare minimum is like 6, I think it was, nothing under 6."
Yep.
And my mom was like, "Please, like he's good." I mean, she was not going to say that now, but she was like, "Please, he's
He's such a
really
good
good."
boy.
such a good boy. I mean, she ain't gonna be saying that now, but he's such a good boy. Just give him one day. And so he was like, okay, one day. And then yeah, after that day, I kept going back.
And how old were you when you started learning salsa?
Ooh, when I started learning salsa, see, this is a little blurry. I reckon that I was between 8 or 9 is when I started learning salsa.
Wow, okay, pretty young.
Yeah, between 8 or 9 is when I started. So I'm 26 now.
Yeah.
So that's 18 years almost, right? Yeah, 18 years of doing salsa. It's crazy. How about
But
you?
you
When
also,
did you start doing salsa?
this is my interview, Mario. I'm asking the questions.
Oh, shit, shit. Okay, never mind.
I'm
I
kidding.
never
I
mind.
started 8 years ago. Yeah.
Mm.
But your dance styles aren't limited to flamenco and salsa because I'm sure you've had ballroom and ballet experience as well, right?
Yeah, my dance journey has been quite eclectic as my
Yeah.
music choices are in life. But um, yeah, so I started flamenco. I went into salsa, and then during that time frame, so I've been doing salsa since I was 8. But during that time frame, I started doing ballet, jazz, contemporary, and then I transitioned into ballroom, and then I competed in ballroom for like 7 years, and
Yeah.
then back to salsa. And now it's
How old were
commercial,
you?
and
Yeah,
it's
now you're
always
doing more of the commercial stuff and the shows, yeah.
I feel like it's always salsa and something else. I realize now that I've always I have such a love for salsa that has
Mm.
actually never left. It's always been
Yeah.
in my life in some way or form. Even when I was competing really heavily in ballroom, and that would literally take all my time, I was teaching salsa. So I had my teams and I had my groups, and I that's that it was always in my life in some shape, way, or form.
Mm.
And then once it stopped for ballroom, I went back to competing salsa really heavily. And now that I moved to
Yep.
Melbourne, it's been something else. So I don't know. I guess I truly
Mm.
love salsa. It's always been there. It's never left.
How old were you when you won your first world title?
My first world title. That one was 2010. Actually, I'm coming up. Yeah, it's a 10-year anniversary. I was 17. I was 17.
17.
17. Yeah, it was and it was actually uh, the first ever same gender category to ever happen
Was
at
this
World
with
Slam Dance.
DNA from Mexico?
No, this was with John Narvaez from Salsa Mania.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yeah, so this was just Shines,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was the first ever. It was what I was actually thinking about it the other day. It was so memorable. It was so beautiful because, um, so Eli and Yen. Have you heard about them? Eli and Yen. Do you know who they are? Yeah.
No.
So Eli and Yen sorry. They're the same gender couple from California, and before World Latin Dance Cup and before World Salsa Summit, there used to be only the world, well, not only, but there was the World Salsa Championships. And there was the
Mhm.
Mayan competition, the World Salsa Championships, and there was the Puerto Rico World Salsa Open. So
Mhm.
in these competitions, back in the day for people, a little bit of salsa history, there's really like only salsa. Like people would just compete in salsa. There was no like
Yeah.
on one or two cabaret, like there wasn't really that. And also at the same time, there was this couple who the story is Eli was the follower and Yen was the leader, and Eli just from what I know, he always was fascinated with like the movements and the spins of women, of followers. So he
Yeah.
loves spinning and he's notoriously famous for being a really good spinner. And they decided to start entering these competitions because the rules were very ambiguous, right? There was no rules. There was no like this is only for same gender or same or different gender, whatever.
Right.
Um, and they came through a lot of adversity because a lot of competitions didn't allow that to happen. Um, So they fought a lot, not fought, but like they pretty much paved the way for cisgender couples. It was
Wow.
because of
Okay.
them going to these competitions, being told no, like fighting for it, and ironically they made like a riot, right? They protested like through their art form and through wanting to go to these events. That in 2010, um, Albert Torres at the time, who are rest in peace, he was the event director for World Dance Cup. He created the same gender division,
Mhm.
and that year was dedicated to Yen because Yen the year before, a couple months before, died.
Wow.
So in like it was like they created this division for them because they were the leading couple that was pushing towards having this division or towards even competing in salsa. And that year that we won, it was really memorable. I met Eli for the first time, and yeah, it was great. And, yeah,
That's
that
quite
was my first time.
revolutionary because if you look at, for anyone that follows the world circuit competitions, the same gender males is one of the highlights of like the whole event. That's one of the final categories, like on the showcase night at the end of the competition, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful to see how much salsa competitions in the salsa world, the competing realm of salsa has evolved, and how open I think us as a community we are to having diversity and having people giving the platform for people to express their art form and how they see it,
Mm,
and accepting it. I
mm,
think we as a community are really forward thinking, like we're really accepting, and we're literally like when you watch people perform or compete or be on stage or even on social, it's like people, our community is so loving that we want them to succeed. Like we want them to have fun.
mm,
We enjoy watching people dancing. Do you know what I mean? That's
mhm,
why we do it. So it's been, yeah, it's I'm proud of our community. I'm super proud
mm.
of how we accept people. Um, yeah.
Because you have such a strong hand in competing, and for those of you that don't know, Mario is a 10 times world salsa champion, which is an incredible achievement. Not many people, ever get to that stage. I think I only know
Thank you.
one other guy, which is Oliver, and I think Adriano's getting close. I'm not sure where Adriano's up to, but
Yeah, they're all catching up.
but
Okay, no,
but like
it's fun.
but this is an incredible achievement, especially given how young you are. Like it's Oliver's done it. I think Oliver's 38 now, and he's achieved it. But you've achieved it, in less like another 10 less years than Oliver has, which is mind blowing when you think
Like
about it.
he's only he looks like he's 25. He looks good. Just kidding. Um,
And I want to ask you, like, how has dancing changed for you because of competition? Because initially it wasn't really a competing art form, right? And it's moved into that, and now it's like its whole other entity. But I know that you're also heavily involved in the artistic side of dance. So how do you differentiate those two and keep your foot in both worlds?
hmm. I guess I think of first dancing in general for me is a blend of a physical activity and a creative activity.
Mhm.
Um, I think all types of art forms are either more creative or more physical, right? Like you think of singing, singing isn't really physical. It is physical. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that everyone can sing and it doesn't take a toll on your body. Yes, it does. But dancing is like another level of a physical activity. Like you have to physically mold and change your body.
Mm,
You either have to be more flexible, you have to be faster, you have to be the favorite word of the century, more grounded, you have to be, like there are things that you actually physically need to work on your body to
mm,
achieve like to be dancing, right? And it doesn't matter what level it is, like it could be a beginner level, you have to physically change how your body moves and make
mm,
that mental connection with your body. So I guess I like to compete. Like I'm a very competitive person, and not so much towards other people, but towards myself. Like
mhm,
I love goals. I love working towards those goals, and I love struggling. Like I love being
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to work towards it, struggle getting it, and then achieving it and working towards doing it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I enjoy the process of what it takes to compete. I enjoy putting in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, putting in the work is both the creative side and the physical side. So to me, it's like honing it. I love being physical. I love moving my body. I love sweating. I love being sore. I love like pushing myself, and then I love pushing yourself mentally and creativity and just continuing that realm. So to me, competing is like best of both worlds. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's how I guess I view it that way.
Mm. If you had to give dancers three tips to improving it, and it might not be in relation to competition, but if you had to give dancers three tips to improve their dancing in general, what would you tell them?
Ooh, just three. Ooh, that is hard. That is hard.
Just
Okay.
three.
Just three to improve their dancing. Um, let the first one, I'll be, yeah, let go of any like negativity in your head. Like you have to just want to have fun all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That it doesn't matter if you want to compete or perform or just social dance. You actually just want to have fun and mentally just let go. That is, I think, the
Mm-hmm.
best. I think for everyone, the best ever social dances, the best performances, the best ever classes are when you actually have let go mentally and you just enjoy and you let the music take your you just engulf the music, engulf the connection with your partner or with the people or with the energy, and you literally just have fun. And you don't remember what you did. You don't remember like you just remember the feeling of it being good. So mentally
Mm-hmm.
letting go, because I think that will allow people to just improve in whatever way they want to improve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I would say my teacher side says work on your timing. Always work on your timing. And
Mm-hmm.
that just doesn't mean basic timing. It actually means like understand how you can like we learn things that are very structured and they seem very like boxed in. Like this is the one, this is the two, this is how you do things, very boxed in. And then the more comfortable you get is when you can play around with those rules and play around with timing. So I guess timing to me is something that you can always work on. You can play around with how to elongate certain things without being off time, if that makes sense. So timing,
Mm-hmm.
mentally letting go, and then the third one, the third one, drop your heels. There you go. Drop your heels. There is no reason you need to be on your tippy toes, holding for dear life. Drop your heels. There's a time and place to be on your balls of foot, but drop your heels. There you go. Those are my three.
Okay, they're good. They're good tips. So, in relation to the timing one, how can dancers improve their timing? What can they work on in order to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, once you've gone past your basic timing and understanding it, then you play around with understanding the different instruments that make up salsa and how they have their own timing. They have their own rhythm. And that is the beauty of salsa, but also at first it can be really confusing because salsa music can have how many instruments being played at the same time. And the hard part is not every salsa song sounds the same, right? Not every
Mm-hmm.
salsa song will have the same instruments, will have the same emphasis. Um, so learning the different timings of clave, learning the different timing, learning the tumbao, learning what all those different aspects of music is really important. Then also understanding how music builds up and drops.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so people know this, people recognize it. So like you take music like I don't know, pop music, EDM music, very mainstream music. We hear it, we can recognize, oh, the drop's coming, and boom, right? We hear
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Salsa music can be very confused. It can be as simple as that, but also can be a little bit more complex. So the more you listen to music, the more you dance to music, the more you social dance, the more you the do salsa dancing to different salsa music will help you understand how you can change the timing and emphasize differently.
Hmm. Did you have any mentors or teachers in the past that have helped you understand that?
Helped me with timing. John Narvaez was really very good at understanding. He was the first one person that was like, we would have lessons. Is this? And you'd be like, is this song 2/3 clave or 3/2 clave? And I remember the first time I was like, what? But I also grew up playing music, so I I also loved that part of salsa dancing. I found it wasn't hard for me to understand and learn those things because I played classical piano for 12 years.
Hmm.
Um, so John was one of them. Tito from Tito and Tamara, Tito from Puerto Rico has helped
Yep.
me a lot with with different understanding different timings, and yeah, that was I think I would say those be the main two. I've worked with a lot of people that have helped me with timing or helped me with understanding music. Um, so I guess maybe everyone, but those are the two that stand out the most
Mm.
that I remember.
So what do you do? Like COVID's maybe not such a good example because it's sort of like a forced isolation. But if you're ever feeling like you you just want to dance, like how do you go about that? Do you go social dancing? Do you freestyle like in your house, or do you go to a studio and put music on and then like jam out? Like what do you do if you're really craving movement?
Yeah, if I'm really craving movement, I think I have two sides in my like I would say I have two things in my body that sorry, I have two aspects in my life. I think I told everyone I was doing this interview, but it's good. That's
We
fine.
booked this space.
I know. Excuse me, the door is closed. Just kidding. Um, no, look, there's six other people that live in this household, so it's a lot, but it's okay. But going back to the question, I have two sides to me. I love being a student. So for as much as I love teaching, I love being a student because I love shutting off that side of my brain that has to think of what to create, and I just want to like be a
Mm,
sponge. I just love learning. So if I'm feeling like I want to dance and learn, and I'm like, I'm really like I'm just I need to be a student again, I'll go take classes. And there's just depending on what I want. Like there's Melbourne is really awesome that we have such a wide range of people to teach classes of all sorts of
mm,
styles throughout the day or before COVID. Um,
mm,
so I'll have that side. I'll go to a class, and if I just want to like literally, I'm like, nah, I just want to dance by myself. I'll put music. I'll dance in the house.
mm,
If I'm really keen, I'll book a studio and do that.
mm,
But I usually tend to just dance in the house. I used to dance in the gym in between sets. Like I
mm.
was that person at the gym.
Yeah, you do that too. I do that. I
Yeah,
dance in between sets.
yeah. I used to when I was really competing. I remember I used to find different ways to or different instances to listen to the song that I'm competing to. So I would do it. I was notorious to do it in my car. So I would do it when I'm forced not to transfer weight. Like you have,
Hmm.
I know this sounds like you're distracting, so maybe I shouldn't use the car example. But I would use it to then work on the routine mentally and still be able to do something else physically. If that
That's
makes
an
sense.
interesting way of looking at it and obviously because you've got a huge history of competing and so much success competing, do you have any advice for people that want to compete or people that want to take their competitiveness to the next level? What would you advise them?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I guess there's so many steps towards the how to get ready to compete. At the end of the day, you have to build confidence. The biggest thing that we like to see on stage or in social everything that whatever types of performing you're doing is about confidence, right? So you have to
Mm,
build yourself confidence outside of the learning the routine, remember the choreography, feeling comfortable, performing many times before your big performance, yada yada. There's like the laundry list. But right at the end, I guess when you mentally let go, going back to that thing I said about letting go, you don't you act, there's a moment where your body takes over. You have this
mhm,
like your memory, your muscle memory of your routine. you could do it on in your sleep. And the only
Hmm.
a good way to go through that is to not just repeat the dance or continue to perform all the time, but it's also to listen to the music and not move and just mentally imagine the performance. Imagine what you're going to do. This is when I go up. This is when I look this way. This is when I feel this emotion. This is when I want to like hit it hard. This is when I breathe. This is when I like um I grunt, or this is when, and you mentally do that without physically moving your body, because if you do that during your performance, you actually will mentally let go and your body and your emotions will come out. And that's when we as an audience really feel what you're feeling, because you're not thinking anymore. And we've seen people be in their heads and be like, oh, you were in your head, you were thinking, you didn't seem as confident. So once you let that go, there is, I would say at the end, listen to your song over, get used to everything in that music and remember it
Hmm.
mentally outside of the studio.
Mm. What do you think like the future of competing will look like? Like I know we've seen a lot of changes to like rules, and there's been different divisions popping up, and so I remember when bachata just used to be bachata, and now they have classic, and now they have cabaret, and now they have sensual. Do you think there'll be many changes to competition in the future?
Uh, Outside of COVID scenario, I
Yeah,
don't
outside of
know.
COVID.
Outside of course, I don't really. mm, I I guess the reason I say I don't know is I am a firm believer to evolution of any art form. And so the
Hmm.
beauty of me being in the ballroom world is I have seen, and if you go back to seeing, like if you go back to seeing how ballroom dancers used to look in the 30s, like you would laugh, you would chuckle, you'd be like, that is not what it looks like now. But there was an evolution that naturally happened throughout the years. And so the dancing and like ballroom dancing has gone through so much change and so many
Mm.
influences that has changed the art form. And I think the beauty of ballroom is that yes, there was always struggle to change, but at the end of the day, the majority of the ballroom world accepted change and evolution and went with it. And that is how it's been so strong and has gone for so long. So I guess for me
Mhm.
mentally, I haven't restricted my mind to thinking salsa competition or salsa dancing needs to stay the way it is now.
Mhm.
Um, you can always go back to your roots and you can always understand the fundamentals and know the history and know where things come from. But I guess I mentally, I, I, I enjoy knowing that I mentally allow for things to evolutionize and change how it's meant to be. That's
Mm.
that is life. That is things are always going to change and evolution will happen naturally. And stopping it
Mm.
or mentally stopping it, I don't think is healthy for the dancing and for oneself.
Mm. I think that goes back to what you touched on earlier about wanting to be a versatile person and also a versatile dancer. You don't want obstacles to get in your way and inhibit you from achieving what you want to achieve. And then exactly what you explained then is a testament to that. For those of you
Hmm.
just joining us, we're here with Mario Acosta from Melbourne. He's 10 times World Salsa Champion. If you guys have any questions for Mario, you're welcome to put your questions in the comments section and we'll work through them as the conversation goes on. I wanted to ask you about social dancing because I know when we go to congresses together, like we always dance together, which I really enjoy because it's fun dancing with you. Uh, if if you had to give people advice about how to become better social dancers, what would you tell them?
Um, I look at social dancing as a relationship. So I think
A
everyone
quick
or the
relationship?
majority, yeah, a quick relationship. And any and relationships doesn't mean you have to date the person, right? It just means what does it mean? Like it's like we all know the answer to having a relationship outside romantic, like, but there's compromise, there's communication, there's you listen, you talk, right? If you're in a if you're in a relationship, I'm not just saying romantically, but if you're in a relationship and you talk over yourselves, you are not listening. Like, is it enjoyable? No. So in reality, we know this about human interactions with other people. So when I look at social dancing, it's just another form of that, right? And so I would say you have to be open to adapting how you dance to everyone else. Not everyone dances the same.
Hmm.
And so I think that is the enjoyment of social dancing, is that you have to modify. And at the end of the day, for myself, I always say that you will get satisfaction if you see the other person being enjoying themselves.
Hmm.
Right? It's contagious. You see someone else smiling and being like and looking like they're enjoying it, then you're like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying it too, right? And then seeing it come to life and then being like, wow. And that was just another excitement that I'm so happy I got to experience.
That was a crazy thing, and I wanted to ask you about it because not many dancers have or maybe they have the opportunity to do it, but they never follow that through. And when you told me, like in the past, that it was your song, like you commissioned it, I was like, how like I couldn't imagine it. So, but then it's almost like because you're in charge and you say I need this and I need this and I need these elements. Like, can you deliver that for me? And like the song is incredible, and like and your routine to it was incredible. Like, how does that experience compare to some of your other solos?
Yeah, I think I look at it because I made it for a competition. I look at it as just another thing I had to get done. So it's like when you create a costume, right? You have an idea, you want to execute it, you want like that is your vision. And at that time, I remember I was
Mm,
just frustrated with not finding a song, and I also kind of, to be like completely honest, I steered away from the jazzy music because I thought that's what people wanted to see me do. And I love
mm,
the song. Like, don't get me wrong, I love, love, love that song. But it is, in
yep.
comparison to all my other routines, probably the like, I would say if I have the jazz, like salsa music, right, for me, and I have my jazzy songs on one side, that is the
Mm,
most that leans away from it.
mhm.
And I remember I created it for that. And it was amazing. Like it was seeing these, because I got it made in Colombia. So shout out to Jefferson y Adrenita from Colombia. They hooked me up with um, the composer who makes their songs.
Mhm.
And I remember just having a conversation and be like, oh, I don't know, I can't really find a song. And he was just like, why don't you get one made? And I'm like, ah, with who? And he's like, my guy. And I was like, oh, right, okay. He's like, just do it. He's like, it's fun. He's like, you can do whatever you want, and you'll get a song that no one's done before. And I'm like, huh, that's true. I haven't really thought about that way. And then yeah, and
So
then
that ticked a lot
I
of
reached
boxes for
out,
you.
and yeah, I reached out, and it was great. He's an amazing Caliche is an amazing, amazing composer from Colombia. So it was so good. And I remember getting the updates of every day in the studio. Like I have videos of the trumpet players coming in, I have videos of the singers, I have videos, and it was just
Wow.
like, and he was so excited. That was the other thing, is that even though I had this idea and I used, I'll give you a little bit of backstory, I guess as an interview. That
Please.
song, the idea and the backbone of that song was actually from um, DJ Ricky Campanelli. Has this song. Now the album is out, but at that time the album wasn't out, and I was almost gonna buy that song. The song's called El Futuro, Soy el Futuro de la Salsa. And I remember I first initially reached out to him to get a song made, because David and Paulina from Montreal, they worked with him a lot.
Hmm.
And so he gave me a recording of the song, like just like a recording of a recording, and he's like, I have this song. And then I almost bought it. It didn't go through, like just at that moment it just wasn't working. But I really loved the song. So if people out there want to listen to it, it's called Soy el Futuro de la Salsa. It has really good hits, and at the end of the song, it has a really good jazzy bit. I'm Unfortunately, a lot of people and competitors that have used this song now always edit that part out. And I'm like, that is the best part. Which again, see, is a testament that I love that shit. Like it's like a great song, has a great descarga, has great like it's very hard raw salsa. And then at the end it goes like to New York City and like Broadway. And it's just like, ah, I loved it. So when I heard the song, I was like, I love that song. This is amazing. It has a good mix of, I guess at that time I wanted to steer away a little bit from a jazzy song, but it had enough of
Mm,
it for me to be satisfied. Um, and yeah, and so then I remember sending it to Caliche, and I was like, look, I don't want to copy the song. Like, this is not,
mm,
and he was very good at being like, look, we don't want to copy it either, but what do you like about the song? And I was like, look, I like
mm,
these hits. I like how this feels. I love the jazzy part. And I was like, sweet, okay. And then the lyrics were very different of what the song was. And so it was really
mm,
good. It was really great having that process. And he was excited. That was I think the biggest thing is the composer was so excited of creating that song that
mm.
his messages and just his energy, even though I never saw him, that's the weird part is I have never met Caliche to this day.
Wow.
No. But I've worked with him, and so his excitement just through these messages and our conversations together were great, and it was a fun experience doing it.
Mm. For those of you that are unaware, the routine that Mario mentioned earlier, which is maybe one of his most famous routines, that routine alone is responsible for three of your world titles, right?
Yeah, so that one, yes, that one was
I think
exciting.
I've seen that routine like hundreds of times. I don't know how many times I watched that routine because I seen you. That was the first time I met you, actually. I think in 2000 and I want to say 14, I think. Chubba introduced me to you at the World Latin Dance Cup. That was my first year that I went to the Worlds, and that's the year that you won with that solo at the Cup.
Yeah, was it 2014? No, no, I didn't. Wait, hold
20.
on. We I that routine, so the one that I got my song made was those
No, no, not
years
the one that you
up.
had your song
Oh,
made. That was Puerto Rico. The one before, the routine before.
Que Rico Mambo in
Yeah, yeah.
2015. 2015. It was
2015.
2015
Okay,
when we
that
went.
was
Yeah,
okay. You have a
that
good
was
memory. I
the.
can see. I can't remember that.
See, I remember. Yeah, because I won 20. I competed in 2010, and that was World on Dance Cup for St. Gender, and then I took a
Yep,
break because at that time I was still doing ballroom, but then ballroom
yep,
got really heavy with competing. And then I took a break and I came back in 2013 and I got third in solo division.
yeah.
And then I won, I mean, 2014 and then I won 2015. So,
Right. Okay.
yeah,
I
really good.
wanted to share with everyone. I wished I had the video at our disposal so like you and I could watch it together. But I've watched this video I don't know how many times, and I've shared it on my Facebook page and told all my friends to watch it. I'm like, you guys have to watch this video. It's so funny. And every year at Australian Dance Cup, you have a battle with Oliver.
Oh my God. Yes, Oliver and I don't know, people just love watching us battle together. It
Oh,
always ends up
it's the
happening.
highlight of my year. I won't lie to you. I fucking love it. Like because you guys both have so much personality and you're both very respected dancers in your own right. You're both 10 times world champions. When you first started battling it was like 8 or 9 times world champions, and when you come out you do Oliver's son movements like to tease him, and Oliver tries to do the jump split, and he like jumps and tries to touch his toes, and then Mario goes, "Point your feet. You're doing it wrong. Point your feet."
Yes, Oliver and I have we have a really good, I would say, banter. Imagine if you had like a really good banter with, actually speaking about Oliver, he started a live video. Why are you trying to compete with us? That's rude. We have a live video as well. Anyways,
He
I'm
enjoyed his one
just
a couple of
kidding.
weeks ago so much.
Um, I know. I mean, he did join, and then he was like, "Let's make a new one." Anyways, that's besides the point. But no, we have really good banter on stage, and it's really fun to our energies bounce. It's fun. I think a lot of people take it like I remember the first time the battle happened. It was like the 9 times versus the 9 times, and it was just so serious, and everyone was just like everyone in that room was like, "Oh my God, what's gonna happen?" And then there's me. I'm like gonna take the piss out of it. I'm like, hee hee hee. In reality, reality, it's not a competition, and it really doesn't matter. But it's fun to enjoy it and make people. I love making people laugh. As much as I love performing, I love making people laugh. And I always think I'm funny. I'm really not sometimes, but
You
so
know,
I
to
kind of
me, you're
bring that energy
hilarious. I
into
think
it.
you're really funny. Born entertainer.
I remember Pat. I think his name is Pana. Asked a question about my recent resume. Thank you for congratulating. My recent PR. Yeah. So I'm really
Mhm.
grateful to now be a permanent resident of Australia, and I love this country. So which is why I want to stay.
Mm. We're very
Um,
lucky to have you, Mario.
I Oh no, thank you. I fell in love with Australia. I fell in love with Melbourne. So I was never, for most people, people that are really close to me know the story, but when I first moved here to work, I was only meant to be here for 4 months. And I had this whole
Mm.
plan. I was like, I'm going to move to Toronto. I'm just going to be here for 4 months and I'm going to leave. And then, and then 1 month in, my world turned upside down. And it was like, you want to stay. And then I had to, like, again, mentally realize that and be like, okay, I want to stay. How are we going to make this work?
Could you repeat that bit, please?
Oh, yeah. So I was 1 month in. After being in Melbourne, I realized I wanted to stay, and
Mm.
I remember my life went upside down, and I was like, okay, how are we staying? How are we gonna make this work?
Mm.
And yeah, I fell in love with it. So to answer his question, I um I feel very weird always talking about this, but I got my permanent residency through a visa called the Distinguished Talent Visa that this country
I'm
offers.
familiar with it.
And it's I guess I'm really happy and proud, and I owe it to everyone. And like I had a post about my permanent residency, and I just kind of thanked everyone because in reality, everybody has helped me get this visa. And it was just I remember when I got the call, I cried because I was like, oh my God. I was happy, but I think I it was kind of like a milestone of I felt gratified, not grat. I don't know what word I want to use. I felt like everything that I've done so far, all the sacrifices that I've done, especially my parents, all the work that I've put in, all the teachers that I've met, all the places that I've been to, all the people that I've met, like all the students that I've worked with, all the people that I've been on stage with, all the people that I watch that inspire me on stage. Every single instance in my life as a dancer has been like to have a country recognize my talent and say, like, look, we acknowledge what you've done and we think you bring good to this country, without being egotistical and allowing that to get to my head. It just felt really, it was a beautiful feeling. It was a
Mm.
really huge accomplishment. It's a testament to everything and to everyone that has um, helped me in this journey of being a
Mm.
dancer. So
And
that's
it's a well deserved reward because I know you work really hard. Like when I've spoken to you in the past about training for competitions, and then you tell me how long you train for, like for a routine, and I'm like, man, like I'm not even scratching the surface of the hours Mario is doing for routines. Like you work really really hard, man, and it's admirable. It's hard work paying off. So
thanks.
I think you're very deserving of it. Like I think they would have looked at your application and gone, oh yeah, sure thing, no
Thanks.
problem, bring
Yeah.
him in.
Thanks. No problem. Let him in. Let him in. No. Yeah. So kind of, I went through probably, to be realistic, a very difficult stream of a visa. It was
Mm,
it's one of the rarest visas. I remember just a little backstory. I remember when I went to go see my lawyer, when I met my lawyer, because I went to interviews to choose one. This particular lawyer was very nice, and I loved her, but
mm.
you could tell the skepticism because you put this form, and you're like, I want to apply. What type of visa would you like to apply for? And so they see this visa, and they're literally like, hey, they're like, and it's funny. It was very. I can read people, so it's actually, and I understand why. Like they were like, okay, let's see what he's gonna say. And afterwards, they told me they're like, do you know the amount of people that were like, oh, I played the flute in year 11 and 12? It's like, no. Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, that so afterwards it was quite interesting. And then when I was like, because I also like I don't really like it's very weird. I don't That's why I don't like talking about it very much because I don't like being like I've done this, and that visa is literally you have to say I've done this and
Yeah,
this and this and this and this, and it's just it's so awkward for me. I'm always like, "Well, I dance. That's my yeah. I dance a lot. I like to dance."
I'm pretty good at it. Lots of people
I
like learning from me.
so yeah, so yes,
Did
but
you find that challenging too? Because obviously, like dancers know who you are, competitors, judges, artists, and students know who you are. But assuming the people ticking off the visas for amazing talent, they have no idea who like a world salsa champion is. And then how did you justify that to them?
look, I also this process of doing this visa has made me realize like I had to sit down and be like I had to make this document of where I remember before I moved to Australia, living in Canada, I did a lot of traveling. Um,
Mm,
and going to Congress after Congress after Congress after, and I had to do a PDF about it. And I remember sitting there creating this PDF and being like, "Wow, Mario, you are so lucky. Like you are so lucky being that the age that you are, the experiences that you had. You are so lucky to be able to say you've done these things." So it
mm,
was really it like kind of put things in perspective for myself, and it was like be grateful because I guess the other thing for professional dancers is that you sometimes forget. You're always striving to look for the next thing. You're always like, okay, I did that next. I did that. Cool. That was awesome. And you sometimes forget that you have to like be grateful and look back at what you've done and be like, wow, I did that. Good job. And those moments will help you when you are in your journey of being like, oh, I don't feel like I'm getting somewhere, or I feel stuck, or I feel this. And it's like, yes, you might feel that way, and that's okay, and you will get over it. Just take a look behind you and remember the stuff you've done, because it will
mm,
probably help you and be like, ah, okay, and not always focus on the next thing.
mm,
But no, it was really good, and one of I was grateful to have had a job lined up when I moved here with Locomojo,
mhm,
and through that, it gave me being in Melbourne made me made me gave me the ability to work in the evening, be a self-sufficient adult that can work. I became when I moved here, guys. I became an adult. Like before this, I lived at home. Like I'm just gonna put out there. I'm not lying anymore. Like I'm an only child and I'm Latino and you are not allowed to leave your house until you like decide to move out, and like God forbid if you're gonna live in the same city because my mom's gonna lose her crap. So I lived at home. I was very lucky and grateful to have that support of my parents. So when I moved here, it was all on me. And I was really happy for that because I always tell people I became a self sufficient adult when I moved to this country.
They had to
Um,
grow up pretty quick in a lot of ways.
yeah, it was just I don't have my parents anymore, and I didn't want to have like as weird as it is, I didn't want to have my parents' support anymore
Mm,
in that aspect because I mentally made the note of like, okay, this is your time. Like you gotta figure out how to be an adult now, Mario.
mhm,
It is time. Um, so yeah, it was when I moved here, I was able to teach at nighttime, do all those things, and then Melbourne has a lot of amazing professional short courses or classes you can take during the day, which was amazing because it was like I can be a student in the morning and then at evening I'm a teacher. And
mhm,
through that is how I found again doing ballet, jazz, all that. And then I started doing commercial classes, and that's how I found like the commercial world, like the other side of
mm,
dancing in Australia and Melbourne, and having those connections and meeting those people, starting to follow them on Instagram, and that's how I found Matador, the show, which
mhm,
is one of the shows that I've been touring with
mhm.
for the past, I would say, like year now. Um,
Yep.
and so being part of Matador was also a huge part for this visa because it was now, being in a cast with other Australians and, you know, traveling to Sydney, being in the Opera House, going to the
Hmm.
Tivoli in Brisbane, being in Adelaide, being in Melbourne twice. Like it was just a really good experience, and
Mm.
it was.
And it was showing your contribution to the Australian dancing scene because it's not like you just came over here to enjoy the benefits of Australia. You're actually actively contributing to benefiting dance here.
Yeah, and when I moved here, I realized I want to be part of this community. I want to be
Mm,
part of this country. I don't just want to take and leave. And
mm,
so I wanted to grow in this country. So I remember when I had these conversations with my parents in the initial stages because they helped me a lot with the visa. They were like, okay, like you're going, like you get this, you will become a permanent resident. Do you understand what that means? Like,
mm,
are you sure? We are going to help you. We will support you if you want it. But this is not just something that you're like, I want to stay for another year and make it 3 years and then let me go. Like, this is not the reason to do it for. Like, you're in it for the long run. And I guess I always told my parents, I said, I don't feel like I have completed and done what I've done. Like I don't feel like I've checked all my boxes as a dancer yet. I feel like there's things
mm,
that I still I've I now want to try doing. I now want to like have goals that I want to try to get to. But
mhm,
I want Melbourne to be my home base. I want
mhm,
Australia to be. I love Canada. I'm forever grateful to be Canadian. I'm proudly Canadian for the rest of my life, and it would always be my home. But
mm,
I made the choice, and now I'm growing my roots in the city, in this country. And if I do leave, I'm coming back to Melbourne, not Canada.
mm, mhm.
Yeah.
And you're always welcome on the Gold Coast, like we love having you
Oh,
up
I
here,
do.
especially for
I do. If I want to like not worry about wearing shoes anymore, I will go to the Go-Go's. Hey,
yeah,
no one wears shoes. It's amazing. You don't even have to worry about getting new shoes because if you do buy one pair a year, it's going to last you like for 5 years. The amount of times you
yeah.
wear it.
I hardly ever wear shoes. I walk barefoot everywhere.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
But I live at the beach, so it's a little bit different. But when you do come back, I think I promised you to learn this, didn't I?
Oh yeah, maybe we should put that on the Instagram. Watching Mario fail on a surfboard and just fall over all the time.
We'll
But it's
see.
great.
We'll see which gets more views, this interview or you on a surfboard.
Look, let's be real. People love watching fails, so I would watch a fail as well.
Yeah, we
Um,
could rewatch it. It'd be hilarious. We'll put your battle with Oliver on the TV right afterwards. It'd be great.
oh man, yes, yes, yes. That'd be
We
fun.
need borders to open though, because no one's allowed into Queensland yet. So we just have to wait for borders to open, and then this can happen.
I mean, if you want to freeze yourself, you can always come to our beaches and our ocean. There you go. Yes, see, if you
I'm
if you
maybe
want
too spoiled.
to, yes, it's a little bit colder here, just a little bit colder here.
Way colder. Like, I can walk. It's 24 degrees here, like during the day, like all the time, and the
Yes,
water's still warm.
yeah. You do get acclimatized. I have to say that during now, this is gonna be what my third Australian winter.
Yeah,
I do find myself cold, and then I literally when I start whinging too much, I go
your
Mario.
Canadian friends like rip into
No,
you.
just myself. I literally go like Mario. It's just snow. Just remind yourself what -25 feels like, and then I
Yeah,
go, oh yeah, okay, it's fine.
yeah, yeah. You can get away with like 2 layers and you're okay, but in Canada you need like four.
Oh yeah, you you need like a lot of layers. But I do have to say that Canadian houses, like how in Australia you'll find like houses are cold in certain rooms because
Hmm.
the heater is not on or it's not working. You don't find that in Canada. Every building is warm in every single room and corner in that house or
Because there's
building.
a heater in every room, right?
Well, yeah, you have centralized heating, so it blows air into every room. Even in
Mm.
bathrooms, that was the biggest thing. I told my mom, I was like, yeah, it's okay. You put on the heater in your room, and then you go to the bathroom and you freeze. Because who's gonna put a heater in the bathroom, right? But yeah,
Not in
it
this
was
country, mate.
not in this country, but that's okay. Okay. That
You
is okay.
mentioned earlier about people that inspire you. I'm really curious to know which dancers inspire you.
Ooh, it is a laundry list of dancers that inspire me. Uh, John Narvaez and Liz Roja, all my instructors for sure. And also Tita and Tamara inspire me.
Hmm.
They are the epitome, I think, for me, of what a successful partnership can be without ever competing.
Mm.
They are the epitome of an art form where it's about the enjoyment of the music and their routines and their showmanship on stage.
Hmm.
Um, and they're beautiful and classic. And it's like, when you have those like classic songs that never get old.
Mm.
That's, I mean, I hope she's not watching. I'm not calling her old. I'm not calling them old, but they are, they're definitely not young anymore. But no, but they're like that. They're up there
Maestro
on.
had nothing to do with this. Mario said it, not me. It wasn't me.
No, but they're up there with like the classic dancers. Like you would have Eddie Torres is one of them, right? Eddie
Yeah.
Torres is like a classic dancer. It's just it never gets old. Watching him
Mm.
dance and watching him interpret music and teach and doing it, him with Tito and Tamara, um, and also like Frankie Martinez, and then you have, oh my God, how am I forgetting the names? This is terrible of me. The West Coast people. I just did the
This
Salsa
interview will be
Fame.
posted on my Instagram for anyone that wants to share it with these four named mentioned
Ah,
in, inspirational dancers that
God,
Mario's having trouble remembering.
I'm terrible with names. You remember this? I did a video. Oliver, we did this video at the end, and he was the last dancer. And he's from LA, and he created on one pretty much. Not created on one, but he was on one
Johnny
pretty much.
Vasquez.
There you go, Johnny. The Vasquez brothers. That's the last
Yeah.
name I forgot. But the Vasquez brothers, not just Johnny, but the Vasquez brothers. Like all those people have inspired me. I like. I also love Rodrigo Cortázar from Mexico. Um, Oh, there's just so many, like a bunch of New York dancers, like Huracan, people like Yamule, Carol Flores, like the list
Mm.
can go on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, the list, that's a hard one. I feel like I just need to write down everyone and be like, next, this person, next, this person, just because I feel bad not naming someone. But no, a lot of those, a lot of the classic dancers have inspired me a lot and been,
Mm.
yeah.
There's something really interesting, and to me you have a very unique style, and I think that's partially to do with you're influenced by a lot of different styles. So like we spoke before, you've got flamenco training, jazz, ballet, ballroom, contemporary, like all of these different styles. You're a very multifaceted dancer. So if someone wanted to create their own style or find their own unique way of moving, like what would you recommend they do? How could they go about that?
Yeah, you, it's this weird, it's like you're discovering yourself, right? And you know how people say, like wait till you get to your 30s, like a lot of 20, let's be real. We hear that, like, wait till you get to your 30s because you really know like who you are as a person, right? And so you hear that a lot. And in a weird way, with dancing, there is no age number because it's like it does not matter when you started. You could have started when you were 4. You could start with 8 years ago. It did not. It doesn't. Its age is not going to be a factor. It's
Mm,
about discovering who you are as a dancer. And I
mm,
think that is hard for people um, to find because they don't
mm,
know. They, it's an art form that you learn from someone, right? And so I guess I put it as when I work with students, I'll say especially competing, right? And because
mhm,
I'm a very heavy competitor, I personally never want my student to look like me. My purpose is not
mhm,
for them to dance like me, right? There
mm,
is an element of you have to find your own style. I will give you
mhm,
the tools and then the body mechanics of what to do to create the style, to be confident, to be grounded, to not fall over, to be strong. All those things I will give
mhm,
that, and I feel like that you can learn from people, but then there comes a moment where you actually have to look at yourself in the mirror, dance, interpret, and actually look at it, and either I accept that and I love that, or I don't, or I want to try something different. And it's the weirdest thing to do. And
mm,
I I love yeah, it's you have to go through the self discovery of finding out what you like, what you don't like. Not just what you
Hmm.
don't like, sorry, what you feel really, really passionately about, how you interpret and how that makes you feel. Um,
Mm.
yeah,
And it's
it's
something
not
that's
sorry,
it's subject to change over time as well, right? Because the way you were
exactly.
dancing 10 years ago isn't the same as you're dancing now. So even once you find your style, that's not to say that that's where you stop, because it continues to evolve based off your life experiences and what else you learn.
Yeah, and I guess like the beauty of it is there is some people that will find a new style, or will find something that we interpret, and it just that they it gives them so much satisfaction. They love that they don't want to change, or not that they don't want to change,
Mm,
but they just continue to do it. And I think for myself, I do know, and I do feel that I'm very different, because I am kind of like, I love trying new things. It's
mm,
actually, I've done that in throughout my whole life with all my extracurricular activities, not just outside of dance, even outside of dancing.
mm,
I love trying new things, and I
mhm,
don't say no to things. I say yes, and I'm like, let me try it, and then be like, ooh, not as much. Let me try this. Ooh, that's cool, and I find myself keep growing. So, and for some people that works, and for some people
mm,
that is what you do, and for some people that doesn't work, and that's okay. At the end of the day, it's
mm,
not. There's no right or wrong, right? It's what gives you happiness, enjoyment in your life.
mm. Because like I was thinking about this the other day, because you've achieved so much, like, some people, can chase a world title for years and years and years, some people decades, but when you've got 10, did you get to a point in your career, like your dancing career, when you thought, oh, like, well, what now? Like, I've achieved like all of this, like, what do I do now?
Hmm. Um, yeah, I guess I got to the point. I remember. So I got to that kind of point in 2018. For
Yeah.
some of the people that I haven't really traveled with that one as well, so it's really only Australians would know this. But 2018,
Mm.
I did this routine where this jacket reveal happened, and it was like a super jazzy song, and it was the epitome of what it was like. Can't be gay, Mario. Let's be real. Like, it's just the epitome. Like, let's do a jacket reveal, because I watch too much Drag Race, and I want to be fabulous, and I am like, I want to be special. Like, that's when people see me on stage and see me do that, like, yes, I'm serious, I'm having fun, and I'm enjoying it, but like, people need to understand. I literally will sit there and be like, I want to pull my jacket up and have a new costume, and I want to do that, and yes, and so I remember just going to Sarah Jackson, not Sarah Jackson, sorry, Sarah Cole made that costume here in Melbourne, and I was just like, Sarah, let's make this, and she was like, okay, how? And I'm like, I don't know, girl, that's your job. Don't ask me how. You got to figure out. Like, I'll help you, but you got to figure out how we're gonna get this into this. And so after that moment, I felt like I kind of checked a lot of boxes. Like, I felt good about my dancing. I I had a song that I really loved.
Mhm,
Rico Mambo gave me the satisfaction of, it opened a lot for me. So
mhm,
I feel like I had this routine. Not that I was complacent, but I had this routine let, that allowed me to travel around the world and got me to move to a new country, and literally has been such a highlight and stepping stone into my life. And then I moved on to creating a routine in a song that I made for myself. So I kind of
mhm,
ticked that box of being like, oh, I got to dance and create another form of creativity of mine. Got in was into this factor of creating this routine that year. And then it sounds kind of materialistic, but then I got to have a costume that I was so excited about. Like, I just
mhm,
loved the whole idea that I thought about that came to life. I loved
mhm,
seeing that happen. So then I was at the point where I'm like, okay, well, again, for most people, if I don't find that song, I won't do it.
mhm,
So I kind of felt like, okay, like, oh, I mean, I did a jazzy song. I did. I used to have, after 2018. People kept asking me, so what are you gonna do next year? What are you gonna compete? And I always had this joke. I was like, I'm probably done. I was like, and I would tell people, like, the only way I'd be competing is if I come down from a crystal ball, come down like J Lo and probably Las Vegas, open the crystal ball. Not to mention the crystal ball is like stone. I do one basic, a Suzy Q, sit back in the crystal ball, and shimmy my way up, and that would be a minute and a half of my routine. That's what I'm gonna do. Because I literally was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what more I would want to do. I didn't find the song. I feel like I've done checklists, whatever. And then, yeah, 2019 was such a big year for me in my life. A lot of change was happening.
Mm.
A lot of realizations was happening. I would say 2019 probably was the most transformative year one of the most transformative years that I've had. And not just transforming myself mentally and my focus on what I want to do with my life, my career, and all that,
Mm.
and how that's looking for, but also the influence of being in a commercial show. And I think the vast contrast is the salsa world. I love the salsa world and I love competing, but you only get to be on stage for 2 minutes, a minute and a half. Like it's a
Yeah.
very short-lived time on stage. And then I at that same time I was dancing in a production show that was an hour and a half long. Like I wasn't dancing for a whole hour and a half long, but I was on
Mm.
stage for probably more than half of that hour and a half. Like I was on
Mm-hmm.
a lot of numbers, and so that exhaustion of dancing, it was a whole different feel. It was a very so I kind of like I would be torn. Like I was like, what do I want to do with my life? Do I want to be a salsa dancer? I'm always going to be a salsa dancer. I will always be that. That will never change
Mm.
in my life. Or do I want to do more commercial? But I also love salsa. But I love being in these shows. Like I was really torn. I was really
Mm.
like being pulled back and forth. And I'm always in my head about things. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm I don't stop thinking. And I end up finding this song, and actually I didn't find it that year. Oliver, he knows this. I shouted out to him. He did this routine. I would have to say Oliver is also a big influence. He did this routine with Luda. That's how much I remember. It was in 2007, I think. So it was in the competition World Salsa Championships. He did this routine for the semifinals, and he was always notorious to do two different routines. He had a semifinal routine and a final
Mm-hmm.
routine.
Yeah.
And he would always like. I remember a semifinals routine. He never did it after that. I don't know if he never did it. I never saw him do it after that. His finals
Yeah.
routine are the ones he would travel with. And so he danced to this song that I was like, oh my God, I love it. I
Mm.
always, throughout my years, I've always had that song on my phone, on my iTunes. It was there. And then I remember in 2019, everyone kept, even I kept asking myself, am I going to compete this year? Do I have something more, not just to prove, but do I have something more I feel like I'm going to want to do?
Mm.
And I felt like I did. And then
Yep.
I refound that song, and I was just like, huh, it's a very different. This my last year song was very different, still jazzy,
Mm.
still that sort of jazzy realm, but it
Yep.
was just had a bit of a different energy. And I was like, screw it, we're doing it, we are doing it. And then the rest is history.
Man,
Yeah,
it's uh, it's actually just really nice to catch up with you because I only just realized that we hadn't seen each other for like nearly a year.
I know.
Because we normally see each other at congresses, like because we see each other at congresses in Australia or competitions in Australia, but like because I was away for a long time, like we haven't seen each other. But we've been going strong for like an hour and a half now, so I'd
It's
love to
crazy.
open it up. Time flies, hey. I'd love to open it up to anyone that's still watching. If you have a question for Mario before we begin to wrap things up, you're welcome to put your question in the comment section and we can answer them as long as they're appropriate. But as you figured out, the line is maybe a bit blurred as far as what's appropriate and what's not. So if you have a question for Mario, please feel free to ask, and we'll begin to start wrapping things up.
Yeah, and
But
people are watching. If you have a question for me, and in general, and you don't want to put it out here, send me a message. Send me a
yeah,
message. I'll
check out
gladly
Mario
answer.
on Facebook and on his Instagram because he's pretty active on both. So if you're in Australia and you want to take lessons from him, or if you want to, because online lessons are a thing now. Hey, you have your online classes still running?
Yeah, my online classes are still running. still be having that through even
Mm.
as we're going through face to face, which is really
Yeah.
exciting. So we're having a mix of face to face classes and still online. So it'll be really cool.
Hmm. Who are some of your favorite bands? Is a question.
Ooh, favorite bands. I love Los Van Van.
Hmm.
I oh man, I'm really bad with names. I'm testing this. Los Van Van. Then I would El Gran Combo. Oh, Gran Combo, yes, for sure. And then see, this is bad. I don't remember their names, but the band that plays in Palladium before they're the same band that played for at the Sydney Salsa Mambo Convention. But when Graham had just had Palladium, he always had this band, this Australian band. I forget their name. Forget it.
I think
They're
I've only seen it once. I've been to Palladium once and I've seen it, but I can't remember the name of the band. They're Sydney
I
based,
can't.
right?
Yes, Sydney based.
Yeah.
They're amazing. Um, I would have to say, I'm trying to think. I mean, Sonora Ponceña. There's like bands. Sonora Ponceña. Then La Excelencia is really good. They're like a more new school type of band, La Excelencia, and they just moved. They just have a different name now. They're not called La Excelencia, but if you find them, you'll on Spotify. They'll be there. And oh, I think the new name of the band will be there. Máxima 33 from Spain, I think they're from Europe.
La Maxima or
Maxima, I think. Yeah,
La
isn't it La
Maxima
Maxima?
79?
Then, oh
Them or
shit.
someone else?
Oh man, I'm getting confused. There's like a newer one, and then there's
Yeah,
the
La
old
Maxima
school.
79 is the one from Italy. They're from Milano.
There you go. See, I knew they're from Europe somewhere, and I
Yeah.
was close. The number I was a little off,
You were
but
thinking of Typica 73.
yeah, I was in between the two. There you go. See,
Yeah.
um,
Julieta had a question for you. It was, do you come from a family of performers and artists?
um,
But your dad's a
mm,
dancer, right? I've seen him dance. He competed at the Brisbane competition.
oh, oh my God, yes, yeah. So look, yeah, my dad is actually what got me into salsa. My dad was doing salsa a year before I started, and I actually, this is the funny part, I never wanted to do salsa. Again, I was a wanker. I was like, no, I don't want to do salsa. I was a kid, and my dad was like, "Ah, it'll be fun." I was like, no, I don't want to. And then one day I had to go to his class, and then Curious Mario is like, "What's that?" And then I fell in love. Like literally, that's what happened. Um, and yeah, so he started a year before me, and then he took a break for a bit, and then when I was in Canada, I had my own dance company, and then he became my student. So it was actually really cool. I was teaching his
Wow.
dance. Yeah, it was. We had really busy schedules, so actually, it was really beautiful to spend time with my dad, even though it was in a classroom
Yeah.
setting. It was just my dad's my number one fan, and he we love being around each other, and so it was actually kind of really fun to him being my student. He was a good
Mm.
student. He was maybe a little off time sometimes, and I have to give him shit. But I just enjoyed being there because he was excited to be there, and I was excited that he was there, and it was our time to be together. And salsa is something we share in common, and it brings us together. So it was yeah, really fun. But no, my parents are not like no. I've always asked this, and I've always been curious about it, but no one in my
Mm.
family is even remote. Like as Latino, a person from Ecuador, and they
Mm.
have really. I'm really happy that they always really um, are proud of their culture and are proud of their language and where they're from and everything that entails that. And I grew up being a very proud Latino, even though I'm Canadian, born and raised in Canada. I have always have this felt this strong bond to my heritage and my language and my music and my food and
Mm.
my culture. Um, so they dance and like most Latino families, there's parties and there's dancing and you listen to music and again it's the enjoyment. Like Latinos are the notorious thing of letting go. Like
Mm.
as salsa dancers and as salsa teachers, when we say, "Oh, he's Latino, he's on Latino timing," he's stepping on three, and that is just like for us random as hell. But it's no, it's like you're letting go, and that's when you feel it. You feel it on the
Mm.
three. I mean, that's Latino timing, right? But
Yeah.
that's the epitome of letting go and not giving a fuck and just dancing and doing what you
Mm.
feel. So my family has done that, but no one has been artistic. No one played an instrument. No one really. It was I was very much the odd one. That was that. Yeah.
Man. Mario. It's been super insightful for me because I know we've caught up over the years and we've always chatted, but it's been nice to get so much more out of this time. And I feel a little bit selfish that I had you like all to myself for this like hour and 40 minutes. So Mario, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I appreciate
Thank
you coming
you.
on and sharing with everyone. Thank you to everyone who joined in. We will wrap things up. If you missed out on the first half of the interview, I'll post it on my Instagram and I'll tag Mario. So if you're not already following him on Facebook and social media and Instagram, go and check him out. He's an incredible dancer. Australia's super lucky, and we're very grateful to have you, man. Like it's great to have
I'm
you
grateful
here.
to be here. To be here.
Yeah.
I'm
So
grateful.
hopefully the borders open soon and isolation eases, and then yeah, we can go back to hanging out and
There,
dancing again.
everybody listening in this country, there is hope. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. It will be there. It will come. It will.
Hopefully soon.
Yes, it will. Patience. Look, this time is testing our patience very, and I know our patience is running thin, but just we got this. We got
A
it.
little bit
We
longer.
got it. Yes, and
Okay.
hopefully I see you soon.
Again, massive thank you, Mario. Stay
Thank
safe, and I'll
you.
catch up with you
You
soon.
too.